So one other really important characteristic of work is whether you choose to work or you're forced to work. Same thing with the disparities. Those who work under their own accord show little consequences and greater job satisfaction. That's pretty intuitive. And usually they continue working because it's a meaningful part of their lives, right? You want to go to a job that or work that you want to stay there because you like the people there, you like the workplace there, and it provides you a meaning. Right? As opposed to when you're forced to work there, right? These are more of these extrinsic factors. You might be doing it for the money, right? And you can't blame people doing it for money, but there's all these other factors when you relate to work when you are extrinsically motivated to continue working. Maybe you didn't save enough to retire, or maybe you have to work to keep your benefits. Things have shifted these past 20 years dramatically. There used to be what we call defined pension benefits or defined benefits. This guaranteed you money for your entire life if you put in the time with the same employer. But we know now people shift jobs, about 5 to 7 jobs over their lifetime. And that's even growing even more with this new gig economy happening. You develop these new gigs. Things have shifted toward this more, instead of putting all the burden of retirement on the employer, it has shifted to the employee or the person. That's why we call these contributions, right? There's more undefined contributions, which is like the 401k or the 403b. And this is like you set aside some type of money to retire and grow, right? And you decide how you want to invest it. So these are more flexible because the pension, the defined benefits, when you had these defined benefits, right? So that means you were, depending whether you really liked your job or not, it didn't matter. Let's just say you didn't like your job, right? You were stuck working there, right? The same place. So hence the 401k, right? This personal contributions, if you did not like it, you could just go, pew, goodbye, right? You could leave. But a lot of people, they were stuck, right? If they had to they put in the time and had to continue working. So it's a mixed blessing, right? There's no right or wrong, but the pension, essentially, not many people stay at the same job for that long period of time anymore. So hence another shift to the 401k. But we know there's a problem with that, especially we see now with the coronavirus situation. People's retirement plans, especially their 401ks, got destroyed, right? The stock market was tanking, and people were losing to 20, 30, 40% of their portfolios, depending how they invest. You might have seen this new movement of using finances as a marker, this FIRE movement, right? Financial independence, retire early. And you see all these YouTube channels with it, like, oh yeah, get this. This is how you can retire early. Retire at 30. Retire at 30. This is how you could do it. Build your portfolio when you're young. But this has been going on forever, right? Like, oh, these books. Before that, it was like these books. Oh, retire at 40. And I guess this is the upside of being able to invest your money in a certain way, right? This flexible investing in your retirement, because you have these choices. Even though these stocks or equities you put in there could go down as well. But they have them everywhere, right? 3 steps to retiring at 40. Anytime somebody gives you like a marker, 3, 2, 10 ways to be happy, that's probably most likely a scam. But there's like at 50 they have it. Oh, retire during your 50s, retire at your 60s. It's all of this, And one thing I want to do to top them all, right? How about this? You could be part of the first that get offered this. How about you retire before even being born? It's like next level. Just imagine. I'll put a link if anybody's interested. Anybody? Anybody? So in general, wealth has been equated and parallel with whether you can retire or not. And since we're shifting from defined benefits to more personal contributions, you're going to have to save more if you're going to, because everybody's living longer and healthier. And the general heuristic is like you save $1 million for retirement. And I look forward to seeing your homework, to seeing how much you cited that you would need to actually retire. So where does the $1 million come from? So people estimate that, these are heuristics, right? General rules, it takes $40,000 to live, right? And times that by maybe 25 years of no income, and that's when you get the $1 million number. But we know everybody has different, we see it for a lot of people, along with this, right? It's like, what do you need to live your lifestyle, right? That's essentially, that's what that number is. Well, how much a year is it going to take, right, to keep up your lifestyle, right? So this $1 million you see here is going to change and be different. And especially as retirement changes and like these medical innovations change, retirement and just aging throughout the lifespan, a lot of this is going to be, as everybody's favorite word, it's going to be fluid nowadays. Beyond wealth, health is another big reason and indicator whether people will retire or not, and their experiences of retirement. We know that we are living longer and healthier than ever, and are we actually saving enough, right? It was what we just talked about, the wealth, but then also really tied with that is the health, right? You could have $1 million for retirement, but be in poor health. So are you actually enjoying your retirement or making the use out of your retirement? Because healthcare costs a lot more when as you get older, with pre-existing conditions and just the types of chronic illnesses that you need to manage. Right? And beyond yourself, it's also if you have a significant other, it's the retirement of the health of the spouse that you also have to consider as a family unit. And we know that the socialized medicine Medicare to most people at age 65. But what happens if you are not that age yet, right? If you are not eligible yet, right? And you can see how that affects your retirement experience and whether you can retire or not. And like I said, it's not just about yourself, right? It's also the relationship that you have with your significant other. And there's been a lot of studies about what the best case scenario for retiring is, whether you could sync up your retirement with your significant other. And that is the ideal, right? Because then you could plan trips together, you could go YOLO together. That's the retirement. That's the ideal. But there's actually work by Phyllis Moen and others has shown that if the male retires first and the female, they retire later or they're still working, there's a decrease in satisfaction, which is really interesting. A lot of this is proposed to be social roles. But when the male continues to work and the female retires, there's no real changes, which is another interesting factor, right? So And we see it right here. There are gender differences between when you should retire. People just don't agree on the age of retirement. Like for me, I would want to. I don't have no idea. I don't even think about retirement. I love my job, but for somebody as a therapist, maybe, right? It's a high stressful burnout like occupation. Maybe they want to retire in 20 years, 25 years. We don't know. Really depends. And others, meaning like grandchildren, might like come into a factor, might change your role and decide whether you want to retire or not. As we know, most people now who have children are dual income earners, right? In the past, usually you had one income earner, but now you have dual income earners, and we all know childcare costs so much money. So the grandparents are really fulfilling this other role, this generative role of caretaking, right, in terms of child rearing responsibilities. That's also another thing to consider when you are during the retirement experience.